Welcome back to the Point Taken podcast. We are in season 6, and I cannot be unfixated by this blue ring around this, and we will not be changing it. That looks so cool. Is that coming through the camera?
Yeah. You see it on the screen.
This
it's coming
is a new season. I forgot this was a new season. I was about to say, just continue on, but we've taken a little break. We got guests, I think, every week, but y'all really only care about seeing Anna. She is the best personality for the podcast.
Let's go.
And, I mean, it's not really close. If I am lying, then at the business meeting in 2 Sundays, you need to ask to have me removed as a pastor because that's one of the qualifications. So either you take it back or...
I'll take it back, but I don't agree.
I love it.
Pressure.
So look, guys, after all that intro that Lowell's going to edit out, we have Anna here. Do not do that. We have Anna here, who's our favorite. We got Dalton here, who's normally running the camera, screwing things up, and making Lowell's life hard. And we got my boy Mike Burkett here. And we are here talking about schooling as a Christian for your children,
As a parent.
So what's the right route? Public school, private school, homeschool. And the question's very prevalent here in the city we all grew up in because I'm going to say it like it is. Our public schools stink. I mean, they
Coming from a public school teacher.
Woo! So we got great perspectives here. We have Dalton, who's going to share some of his stuff, which is different from Mike's, which is different from mine, which is different from Anna's, and all from different angles. Some as a parent, as a teacher, so we're going to get into that. But we have a game first. Now that I ruined most of the game time, I'm going to let Anna take that over.
That's okay.
Part 2, guaranteed.
Yeah,
part 2.
Part 2, guaranteed.
I just guaranteed we're doing this part 2.
Thanks, Pastor.
Thanks. Hey, it takes less work. It takes some work off of me, so that's fine.
I'll clock out a Sunday,
Yeah, right?
Okay, so for Would You Rather... I have 3 questions, so we'll try to get through these. If not, it's fine. Would you rather be covered in fur or covered in scales?
Forever?
Yeah.
Fur.
100% fur.
Come on, man.
I don't even eat
fur.
fish.
Oh, but you work in the summer, bro.
Oh,
Scales ain't
But
breathing either.
Yeah,
I guess
scales
It's
so.
like plastic. It's like wrapping in plastic.
Yeah, but the
Man.
thing about fur,
Wait,
too,
like-
you can, thin the
I
coat
can
out.
shave
for the
Like,
fur
when you
down.
say scales, it's like
Never mind.
fish or like crocodile. Is that kind of scales?
Oh, I was thinking of fish.
I was thinking of like crocodile.
I guess reptile. Well,
Yeah.
Well,
crocodile
still
don't
going
have
fur.
scales.
Still fur,
I'm
because
still
I can
going fur.
buzz my fur down to nothing.
I mean,
Yeah.
I just
Artie
pictured-
Baker is basically covered in fur.
Yeah.
now, and I still
He
like him.
survives.
Yeah.
Artie survives just fine.
I just picture that episode of SpongeBob whenever they shave Sandy and have her fur on her.
Yeah,
and,
I
just
remember
shaved
that.
it out.
Oh, Patrick tapes
Has
it
it
to
like
his
his
forehead.
forehead.
I hate that.
Can
I
we
know
just
that.
mention Anna's notes on a paper towel?
Yeah, I didn't have piece of paper.
That's awesome.
so.
Wit nights, we do what we have
That's
to
right.
do.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You got an ink pen and something to write
really
on.
was prepared,
What they
though.
doing back in the day, it was like back of pamphlets and stuff, right?
Yeah,
Something.
that's
I
right.
had to write something down on my hand the other day because I didn't have paper.
Hey,
That didn't wash off until
we
this
do what we
morning.
got to do in
Okay.
Witten.
Would you rather have unlimited sushi or unlimited tacos for life?
Easy.
Tacos.
Tacos.
Sushi.
Nobody wants
Sushi?
I'm going sushi.
Sushi's nasty.
I don't eat
I
seafood.
love
But hold on.
sushi.
Here's the
if
difference.
I never had to pay for it.
Here's the
again.
difference. Okay.
What kind of seafood? What kind of sushi?
I love sushi, and I'll still choose tacos because tacos are the 6th best food.
I'm not saying I dislike
6?
tacos.
6.
Like I love tacos, but when I think about going out to get tacos,
How
I'm
do you
just
know
like,
that?
I just make those at home.
Because I
I would
have a
rather
list.
have unlimited sushi that I wouldn't have to pay
Okay,
for.
think
anymore.
about this. Think about this.
'Cause
So
I
in the
enjoy that.
morning, you could get up and eat sushi, and at lunchtime eat sushi, and at dinner time eat sushi. I think I
It
would.
just says unlimited for life.
So you
Like-
can only eat sushi, or
No,
you get to
no,
have
no,
it.
no. Yeah.
Unlimited.
Oh,
So like
okay.
I
Well, I'm
could
still
get,
tacos, but
I'm
you're
still
saying you can
tacos.
eat something different.
You know,
Yeah.
I put.
Okay.
Yeah, I can get
if
different sushi
money's
roll
not
all
a
the time.
thing, I put 17 ingredients on tacos.
Oh, for like a Chipotle or something.
What are you at Subway?
No,
Yeah.
at my house.
Subway taco
At my
shop?
house.
17.
17.
I'll take it all. Add extra sauce.
And what's probably you know what's
Sprinkles,
amazing?
sprinkles,
You
sprinkles.
probably think I just made that number and you want to challenge me.
No,
No,
because
I
we
do.
believe you
I do
counted.
want
You counted the toppings.
I did,
You
man.
did. Like
I mean,
didn't challenge
the
you because I
fact that
know
he
you
said
did.
it's the 6th best food so quickly is just
I have a
insane.
list.
He's definitely thought of this before.
Hey,
I am-
100%.
100%.
So you chose sushi, and now I love sushi. Sushi is one of the few foods. There's about 5 or 6 of them that I used to not like, and now I do. I will kill some sushi.
I love.
Hate
That was my
sushi.
first meal
Hate
after
it.
I had my first son in the hospital. My husband's like, "What do you want?" I said, "Sushi."
But
Sushi.
tacos are still superior, dude.
And so,
What is sushi, like 17th best or?
Yeah,
haven't
it's like the 16th best food in the world. I know it. I've done this scale
Why you do
100
my
times.
voice like that? Like, I don't sound like that. Come on, man.
You don't sound like that, but that's how I hear somebody that would do this.
Yeah.
These little.
I will
topic
say,
games.
most people like me.
Yeah.
Most folks that like sushi that are men like me are in a different part of town, you know. But I
like
am.
Preppy Mike.
Yeah, Preppy Mike, man.
Preppy Mike.
That happened on Wednesday.
Dude, my guy here is wearing sunglasses because they're his prescription glasses, and he broke his other ones, and he won't go get regular glasses. So
Expensive.
I'm sitting
That's
here.
his excuse.
I'm sitting here on the stage in Sunday morning worship,
Oh, we
worshiping
just talked about
Yahweh
this, singing
in
hymns
heaven.
with sunglasses
And
on.
he looks at the screen at the words and squinting like a dork, and he puts his glasses down and goes, "Amen." Yeah.
100%. I cannot see it.
That's why I was like, you're like, can I wear my sunglasses? I'm like, they're your prescriptions. I know what I feel like if I don't have my sunglasses.
Not to mention,
on,
it's pretty
for sure.
bright in here, so it does.
Yeah.
It
Yeah,
it
does
does
kind of
kinda
work
help.
for this one.
Okay, so everyone was tacos except for me.
Yeah.
Tacos,
Sushi.
100%.
Okay.
My whole family eats tacos.
I mean, I had tacos too. It's like we had street tacos
Man.
on Friday, but it's like I would much rather have sushi.
But
my,
Ava eats-
my guy's coming in with the practicality. He's thinking of paying for Jameson. He's
Yeah.
thinking of Jameson.
I'm
My
thinking of
tacos
date
will feed my
nights.
whole
I'm
family.
I'm thinking of date nights that I don't have to pay for. Like that's what I'm going
Man.
for.
See,
I'd
Free
rather pay for date nights. I got to feed my family every night.
Dude,
You know,
the
we're going to
practicality.
tacos.
He's won me over with the practicality. If I was anywhere in sushi, it's
That's
tacos
fine.
now.
Tacos
Yeah.
it is. Meat
Man.
and cheese only, that's great.
Way done.
It's more like a
Quesadilla.
tortilla roll-up. But
Yeah. Okay, last one, and then we'll move on. Would you rather be able to go to any theme park in the world for free for the rest of your life, or eat for free at any drive-through for the rest
The
of your life?
second one.
Theme park.
No.
No.
Stop.
No.
Think of money.
Think
Don't think
about
of the
it.
fun. Think about how many more times you go to the drive-through than you do the theme
you
park.
still have to pay to get to the theme park.
Dude, let me tell you something. I love theme parks. Like, I get more enjoyment of roller coasters than eating Wendy's. But I go to Wendy's 20 times more than I go to Six Flags. So money-wise, it makes way more sense to do drive-through.
I don't know if money-wise, because you'd probably spend about the same eating Wendy's 20 times and going to the amusement park once.
Yeah.
So like, I couldn't.
I would
No.
do theme park too.
I would
I
do
mean, it's
theme
like
park.
$90.
Disney, Universal, like I'm going
Dude, do you
that
know
route.
You still gotta
Disney
pay to
is
get there.
insane.
I don't care. I would much rather not have to pay the ticket prices that are like $200 per person per
Okay,
day.
but watch
It's
this.
more
Watch
than
this.
that.
$200 per person per day. Watch this math. You follow me on
I'm
this?
listening, yes.
Okay. The average person who's not named Josiah and hasn't memorized a menu to know how to eat for less than $10 spends on themselves $16 because they buy drinks, which is stupid.
know,
$16 at Wendy's. Agreed?
Sure.
Okay.
Double Baconator?
Okay.
Definitely.
Follow me on
16
this.
bucks.
Yeah,
combo.
combo.
16 times 20 is $320.
I don't care. I'm just saying I would much rather
You
have
keep
a
saying-
theme park.
Do you know how
Well,
much Disney is?
You
can
went
spend
to money.
$8,000.
No, you don't.
Yes, you do. Look it up.
No,
for
that's-
4 days.
That's the vacation.
No,
that's
it
the
ain't.
no,
flight.
for 4 days,
No,
it's
he's right.
$8,000.
You're talking
it isn't.
hotels. You're talking
No, it
Yes.
isn't. No, it isn't, bro.
for 4 days.
How do you know this?
I-
How
Because
many
I
kids have
watch
you taken?
videos.
How many
I
kids have you
watch
taken
You
to
want
a
to bet a
music
double
park?
stack?
Stop
I'm
it.
not betting
Double
a
stack,
double
no
stack.
onions?
This man
No,
can't
I
take
didn't.
himself to the music park. We're not
Okay,
going to take your
yourself.
opinion in this.
Theme park.
Yourself.
Theme park.
I paid for
whatever.
Disney twice, and I can. First one was like almost 5,000. The last one was almost
may
The
I-
8,000.
trip.
Thank
Hold on,
you.
but
The
may I
trip.
say
Yeah,
that,
but
that
still.
you,
That's what I'm talking
may
about.
I
the trip.
say that you
Only
went
the park's
all out
free.
in certain areas?
Only
On
parts
the
free.
second trip we did.
In this,
Okay.
in this
Oh, yeah.
question.
He's not talking about.
No, I understand. Like with all the money, you're not spending $8,000 just on the tickets.
Because I went to
alone,
Disney. I
like-
did not spend that. But
Well, I'm not
Right.
saying just the tickets. I
Right.
wasn't thinking
But when
about
we went
the
for a
trip.
honeymoon, we did like bare minimum, and it was still like almost $5,000. And
Mine-
it's just like what the
mine
heck?
wasn't. I think I did a different bare minimum than you. I must
You
have done
had
like
a-
a
no,
tiger
you had a-
minimum.
you
or
had a
lion
He did
minimum.
timeshare.
the Witten minimum.
You had a timeshare that you could do, right?
Yeah,
So
I'm talking.
we had to pay
So
for
I'm
that.
talking
So,
about
yeah.
just getting in the door. That's what I'm talking about.
No, yeah. So I would, even though it's like I would still. We don't go to eat fast food a lot. So like Lowell and I were actually talking about this question. I said we just don't go out to fast food. He's like, but if you
Let's
have
get the
free
Lowell mic.
drive-through,
Let's get the Lowell mic.
and
Come
I'm
on,
like,
dude.
but
Let's get
if
the
I-
Lowell mic. Go
but
ahead.
where I live,
Don't
we
speak
don't
for
have
him.
it. No, I'm talking for what I'm saying.
Don't
Where
you cut,
we live,
don't you do not
do
cut
not
her
have
off
any
again.
good-
Don't you do it.
Any good restaurants that have drive-throughs? Like we got a Captain D's.
Can't correct her. You said
No.
no. You said not true.
No. We got a Captain D's where we live, and I'm just like, who the heck is going to go to this Captain D's? I'm not going. The only
I will.
No.
But, okay.
My
No.
neighbor works at Captain D's, and he told me a secret about Southern batter and country batter. It's a pretty funny story, but we're going to move on to this lesson, right?
Okay. Well, no. Are we going to
Part two, I'll give you the country batter, seasoned batter,
Secret.
the punchline on that.
Well,
All right, yeah, I'm definitely on team
Breathe.
drive-through.
Yes!
I mean, I'm not
100%.
disagreeing.
Engineers on my side.
I can get way
Oh,
more out
okay.
of that than the theme park thing.
I mean, I'll
I
go
do
more
think
just because it's free.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? I'm like, oh, I want a drink.
But
Boom.
then I'd weigh
Exactly.
like 500 pounds. I would get too fat doing that. That's my other thing.
Hold
no,
up,
trust
hold
me. I would.
That's
I would
a
gain some
discipline
weight.
issue.
That's what I'm saying though.
Don't
if
put
it's
that on
free,
me.
like I don't have to pay for groceries.
So
Why
how
not
many
go through a drive-through? I'd be fat.
So how much would you do to get to the theme park that's free, but
Come on now.
it's not free to get there?
It's a vacation that we're talking about.
No, but it's free, so you're gonna
I
do
don't care.
everything you can to get there.
Yeah.
No, that's money.
No, I'm doing it. If
Plus you
I don't
gotta
have to
take
pay
off
a
work.
full price for a Disney vacation, I'm doing it.
Missing
But you're still
thousands.
only going to get to go once every 2 years.
Yeah, that's fine.
Never.
It's
You
the
would pay for it
experience.
over and over again
It's
with
about the
fast food
experience.
Hey,
savings.
how can someone be so
Experience.
amazing like you, but so illogical on something
I
so
don't know.
straightforward?
You'll have to ask my husband.
It's the
all right.
long hair.
She didn't say fast food specifically. She
She said drive-through.
That is fast
It's a
food.
drive-through
Yeah,
at
fast
Corky's.
Not all drive-through is Wendy's. You know what I'm saying?
Come
No,
on, man.
no, yeah, I'm
what
with
other
you. I'm with you.
drive-throughs are we talking
Patty
about?
B's has a
Like
drive-through?
Pastor Josiah
No, it
just said,
doesn't. Gus's
Corky's,
does.
that's-
Excuse me.
Gus
That's
has
a
a
notch up.
just
Chili's
lie.
Tops
has a drive-through.
barbecue.
Thank you.
Tops
I know
barbecue.
Tops.
I spend $60 there a week. Come on.
Gosh.
I have
dang.
7 people in my family, bro. What do you mean?
Yeah.
I want that
that's a lot.
CC's Pizza drive-through. I'll just keep
Come on.
circling
Come
the
on.
building.
Five Guys. I
I'll
mean,
take another plate, please.
No, you know what Lowell and I would do?
That macaroni.
We keep going circling and then sell it for $2.50 at the person in the parking lot.
hey, what do
Keep on
you?
circling.
Hey, what do you want? Since it's not free for you,
Yeah.
I'll give it to you for
Dude,
half price.
we
Now I'm
make
gonna
a
go
killing,
to. Now
dude.
I'm going to Universal Studios
see-
on the neighbor.
All right, but now you go for Pandora's box. Can we do the same thing with tickets to Disney?
I mean,
That's
maybe.
bad. I think we just broke this question. Let's cut it off.
Because
We got it.
I would scalp those tickets in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
I'm
dude.
just saying, it's a lot of scalping. Those families still
yeah.
got to pay to get there.
Yeah.
You know, so I can sell fast food to anybody in this room tomorrow.
Anybody.
Like in 4 minutes, everybody in here would buy a
Oh my
half off
gosh.
combo. You know what I'm saying?
I want you to try.
Especially with this inflation
I
and these
would.
prices.
Dude, I could
You want a
drive
double
up
cheeseburger
I
with
could
Tops
dri-
barbecue for $3, bro?
Listen.
for $3
with
I'll pass.
three
Thanks.
streets, Sycamore View, Covington Pike, and Summer Avenue, I could make my month's rent in one day just with half
Oh,
prices.
yeah.
I mean, come on, dude.
Hit the supply houses with
Burn.
sacks.
Yeah, right. Bojangles.
Oh, my son's calling Bojangles Jingle Bells because he's getting Taco Bell and Bojangles confused. He's like, I want to go to Jingle Bells, and they're side by side on Witten. It's hilarious.
Dude,
It's so
right here.
funny.
How long did it take you to figure that out? What do
My
you
wife
say?
figured it out. I was like, "What's he talking about?"
We're not doing Christmas, bro.
I'm putting the song on. He's like, "No, he wants to eat.
No.
He wants to eat Taco Bell and Bojangles." I was like,
That
"That's
is
that's
so
Jingle
freaking-
Bells."
That is so freaking cute.
Yeah,
I love that.
It works.
All right, guys. So let's get in to what we're trying to talk about, and that is, as Christians, which we all are here,
Amen.
education. How do we do that with our kids? Now, I think from the get, I just want to say one thing, and then I think Anna wants everyone to give some experience of how they were educated. And I want everyone to hear me on this. This is something that people don't realize. It is not the government's job to educate your children.
Come on.
It is your job. If you choose to use tools at your disposal, like a private school, like public school, that's your prerogative, and that's you using a tool to make it happen. But it is not their job. It is your job. Just like it ain't your preacher's job or your children's ministry job to teach your kids about Jesus and get them baptized. That's your job. That's your job. You can use the tools at your disposal, but at the end of the day, it's your job. That's what the Bible teaches. So that's just so everyone knows who's listening, that's the background we're all coming from, is at the end of the day, no matter what Anna or Mike or Josiah or Dalton choose to do with their current or future children in educating them, we are doing it from a mindset that it's our responsibility to teach them the things they need to know, not someone else's. So there's that. So Anna, I guess you want to go first?
Yeah, I'll go first.
All right.
So I was raised in North Mississippi, which you don't have a lot of good public schools up where we were.
You don't say.
Yeah. So I think there was literally like one school at the time.
That
and
was
it was like,
that was good.
no,
or
that was there. That was just there. That was
That's
just
what I was
there.
getting at. That's
No.
what I was, you
So
had
that's
not
the
many to
reason-
choose from.
Right. So that was the reason why my parents sent us to private school at this one school, and then we ended up going to another private school that was closer to where we were at the time. And so I was in private school from kindergarten until 12th grade, and then
Wow.
I went to a private college, which was stupid expensive, but that was fun to pay back. And I didn't even get a degree, so you know, it's
Skingletons.
totally. So we ended up doing that first through 12th. I had Bible classes like all through school. We had chapel that we were required to go to, all of that. We had like AP classes. I was never in that. I was in honors classes for English and some other stuff like that. But so that's kind of like, I've always been in private school. Always. And so with my kids, I don't know necessarily like school-wise what we would do besides homeschooling, just because of our location and not a lot of good options out where we are. But so it's kind of like me in a nutshell.
All right, Burkett.
All right. I'm the public school guru here. I've been to every school this side of the Mississippi, all the way up till Millington. So I wouldn't change where I came from because it made me who I was today. Like all the trials and tribulations that I went through school made me be able to withstand or put up with a lot more that I wouldn't be able to, that some of my counterparts that have went to these schools or whatever think are a big deal. Not just the teaching of the school, but it's a camaraderie that everybody's going through the same problems. Like you're broke, you're struggling to get your lights on, you're struggling to get your checks or whatever, and you still got to go to school. So school was like a getaway from that. It was a guaranteed meal, it was a guaranteed friendship, and then those people were relatable to you. Like I told y'all earlier, I failed the third grade because we moved 6 to 10 times, probably 10, if I was to be really honest about it. And I didn't know difference between adding or subtracting or multiplying. Third grade's where they do the math in public school. So I would go to one school that'd be more advanced and I'd just be mixing it all up. So my mom just held me back. But for me, growing up at public school, I wasn't a Christian until later. And now that I have children, I would like the lessons to be more Christian based for my offspring, because that's what I wish I would have had that's been removed from public school since I've been there.
Yeah.
Like it was the Pledge of Allegiance and God was part of school to an extent, but now it's completely been removed basically.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm for public schools as for me growing up that way.
Yeah.
But I'm on the fence about putting my kids through private school or keep them in public. I'm in an area that our elementary school is good. Macon Hall has a good background. They teach good stuff
Right.
and my kids have good grades. But the 6th grade is Mount Pisgah.
Yeah.
And that's a no for me, a hard no.
That's enough for me, dog.
That's a big no. So we got to figure something out. So we've been looking at FCS, which is a private school. But in the same time, Arlington's opened up, and they're allowing people to come in because Lakeland's high school's opened, and they're wanting people to come in.
Yeah,
from
if you're
outside.
not from Memphis, let me tell you something. It is a
battle zone.
It is
It's a war zone.
I could explain it, but I'm not going to. But it is a strange setup we have here on school systems
Yes.
and this and that in
'cause
Shelby County,
Lakeland and
Memphis
I
City.
was about to say Lakeland and Arlington are their own.
Yes,
They're
they
on,
are.
they're on
Yeah.
municipal.
Yeah.
So they can approve.
Who comes
They
in?
won't provide you like bus rides or
Yeah.
Yep.
way to get there. And after school childcare, you got to pay for those things because they know that it's a farther drive or whatever. But at the same time, if I do my research and I feel like Arlington is adequate for what I want my child to have, I'm not against doing that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I will go to FCS like I'm trying to do and evaluate their program and their curriculum versus what Arlington would teach and see if that's where I'm more interested for my kid's life path.
Yeah.
You know.
That's fair.
Okay. So I guess I kind of have experience in all three realms here. I was homeschooled until the ninth grade. I was homeschooled all the way through. My mom homeschooled all five of us, and she did an excellent job. When I read the Bible, when I read in the Bible in other languages, like, to say that I'm grateful to my mother, and I probably should do a better job of telling you this, is an understatement. I mean, the way I learned, because I had one woman who poured her heart and soul into 5 students, whereas normally it's one teacher trying their best, some of them trying their best with 35 kids in there. It's just,
And that's just
And
one
different
class.
learning.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
different, you know,
I'll get to that in a minute,
capacity,
dude.
you know.
Yeah, it's like that's
so
just one class.
I did that until the ninth grade. It was an adjustment for me because in the ninth grade I went to a private school. It was a Roman Catholic school, of which I am not a Roman Catholic, and it was an all boys school, and them dudes were buck wild. Whew.
I worked with one of those guys.
That was
They're nuts.
there was good and bad things with that. There was culture shock there, some of which I needed. So there was good and bad there. And they all came from like preppy middle schools. We didn't have a laptop at home. We had one computer we all shared.
That desktop.
The only class that I was behind in was typing.
The tower.
Hey,
Yeah.
the only class I was behind in was typing. That's the class I had to come early and stay late for.
Well, it shows what your
Wow.
mom did for you.
Right.
Yeah.
Every other class, I went in and I looked around, and without any, like, we did this 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Like, what am I?
Why are we going over this
But
again?
typing was the one that they all like left and smoked, whatever. And I'm sitting here and like, okay, hold on, how do we do
Yeah.
this?
QERTY.
Yeah, dude.
It's QWERTY up because I took
Dude,
that class.
we had
It's
to do
QWERTY
it.
up. That's where
What
you
was
rest
your
your
GWAM?
hand.
Your general words a minute. You remember that?
56 words per minute when I graduated, but I couldn't do
right.
it.
I'm
I
at
can text
26.
150 right now.
Dude,
Get on my level.
I got up to 70. I'll be straight because,
Yeah.
Got 60.
and that's helped me with writing lessons now. But anyway,
Yes.
from there,
funny.
I went to a public university. I went to the University of Memphis. I loved that experience. And then I was a public school teacher for Memphis City Schools.
He loved that experience.
I was a public school teacher for Memphis City Schools for 4 years. So homeschool, private school, public university, and public school teacher. And I did that from 2016 to 2020. So I do have some experience in all. As far as my children, well, we are currently homeschooling. I am
Your oldest, right?
my
Just your
oldest. She is learning at an incredibly rapid rate, of which I can, and this ain't a knock, it's just the reality, I can guarantee you, because I've seen it, she would not be learning at that rate in the other scenarios that are at my disposal right now.
Yeah.
At your disposal is what's really important, though.
What you mean?
Because when I grew up, I didn't have the option to be homeschooled.
Oh,
Yeah.
A single parent.
I know,
going
100%.
to having to go to
100%.
work.
No,
you
yeah.
know.
Look, let me tell you something. My wife and I made that decision before we had our first child. That's how we were going to set it up, knowing that we would have one income, but that this was worth it.
You prepared for it.
Yeah.
Yes, I
Yeah.
did, and I worked my butt off for it.
Yeah.
yeah. So that's what we're doing. As far as will that be all the way through? Probably not. Probably not. But it's going to be for a while. I'll say that. So that's where we're at with that.
So I have the perspective of two. So I was homeschooled through 7th grade, and then I went to private school 8th through 12th. Oh my goodness, what is happening here? So homeschool.
Don't touch the mic.
Get it? Because his name is...
Yeah,
Mike.
hey, it's my turn,
M-I-K-E,
Pastor.
Yes, sir.
not
Okay,
C.
So homeschool, I will be honest with you, I can't remember a lot of it. because
Was it that traumatizing for you?
no,
with
I
your
loved
mom?
it.
It just
I
wasn't
loved
that,
it, but
wasn't that
Love you,
fun.
Karina.
the grades when like you're
They kind of
homeschooled,
merged
the
together.
grades merged together for
Yeah.
me. So
You mean the years,
like the years,
not what you're making. Like the
yeah,
first,
like
second,
the
third
first,
grade
second,
is-
third,
feels like
it all merged together.
You don't know when you're getting to
Yeah.
the next grade or whatever.
Did you have like summers off? Did you have breaks
I did,
and stuff?
yeah, I
Okay,
did, but it
okay.
just like it's still like we would start early sometimes.
Yeah.
So we didn't start like when the regular school started, and sometimes one thing that I really loved about it is you could double up.
Yeah.
Like I say, oh, I just want to go. I want to have the day off. I can double up on it, and I am like I do encourage homeschool. Like with if people ask me, like I'm all for it. But there are a couple things that I don't like about it. One, like I had my brother and sister when I was younger, like first to like fourth, and they left because they graduated. So then it was just me, and where I lived, like there was no one. So like I was like legitimately, I only had the people from my church, and there really wasn't a lot of people my age group.
Yeah.
So I did not have like any social
Interaction, yeah.
at all, and that is one thing like that really like it like was not good, and that's one thing I hated, and my parents hated it, and that is the main reason I started going to private is because they saw that like my interaction was just really low, and I was smart, like I was advanced in all my classes, and when I got to private school, my grades were like higher than a lot of others because I was so advanced.
He's
And-
so advanced.
Because like I could just double up, and
Yeah.
because I didn't like my mom could focus only on
You had
me.
the one-on-one.
Yeah, it was one
Yeah,
on one.
Yeah, you didn't have to worry about everybody in the class.
Yeah,
Because they usually base the
Curriculum.
not the curriculum, the speed of like
Mm-hmm.
the progression of
Yeah.
the class on like this one of the slowest kids.
Yeah.
And so it's like, I mean, I was probably that kid in math. Like I was never good at math. And so my husband and I were talking about homeschooling our kids. I'm like, well, I can teach our kids math up to like third grade, and then you're going to have to take over because
You might want to
I'm
watch your
just
mouth.
like-
Third grade math has gotten crazy.
yeah, but
It's I'm gonna be real with you. It's algebra, bro. It's like X and Y. It ain't like what I had. I'm gonna be real with you. I'm like,
You're like,
this
we
is
learned-
public school math.
we learned
I might need to stick to
multiplication.
public school.
No wonder.
Like, whoa.
No wonder it's 80% under the grade level.
Jeez, this is crazy. Where's your book at? I need your book. Like, I need to read this lesson.
So back on the private school thing, did you feel like you maintained that progression while in private school? Like once you had to go with the flow of other students in that curriculum based on
I did maintain the advancedness.
Okay.
Like so, I maintained like I was like top of my class, sort of. Like I was like fourth in my class,
I would say
but
it was top of your class.
but like I wasn't advanced because like the teachers like I was so used to one-on-one that like when everybody got into the mix, one like I was super nervous because I knew nobody.
Oh yeah, you had
So it's just like you can noticeably see like the difference, but it still was like I still got great education, like, and you could also see that.
Did you ever do co-ops and stuff when
I
you were
did.
in homeschool?
I did,
you
but-
feel like that didn't help?
Well, it was with people way older than me.
Oh, okay.
Like it was
so
with my
wasn't your
brothers,
age.
like my
Oh,
brother's
okay.
age group. So there was no one my
So
age.
how old are your brothers for the group? For the listeners?
He is
Much older he is than you.
24 right now,
And you're
I'm
what?
19.
Also, 6
about-
years in
yeah.
that area is a big difference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, they were in upper high school. I was in like
Failed
elementary.
third grade.
Yeah. I did fail the third grade. Let's just keep harping on that.
Yeah.
I think we could do this whole point taken on that right there alone. I'm 16 in the 4th grade.
Have you ever seen The Office with Michael Scott? He goes, you know what? I eventually aced the 3rd grade, and I was the biggest kid in my class.
100% of the time.
You and I still weren't. We were still the shortest. Give me another year, and I'm still the shortest in the class.
Same.
But even though like the advanced like knowledge kind of went away, I still was having like a great like academic. Like I was still learning a lot, and my social, like my interaction and becoming friends and like learning how to deal with people and learning how to like take jokes. Like that was my main thing, because I was so like I was so
Sheltered.
sheltered.
Yeah.
I like would get my feelings hurt over one little thing. And like going to that school, even though it's like a small Christian school, everybody's supposed to be Christian, no. Like I still like learned, like thought I was getting bullied because they were messing with me. And that's one thing, like I am so grateful for that, because I have learned and grown so much and like just matured, because like I learned how to deal with that.
To going to a real school versus
being homeschooled and
private school.
Yeah, and I'm not dishing on like homeschool, because like I loved it, but with my kids, I would rather private school because
the interaction is
because
important.
the interaction. One, I was huge into sports, love
Yeah.
sports. Homeschool, like you can have like rec sports and stuff. It's a completely different.
But you're not in class with those students whom you're playing on a team with.
Yeah, and you're not constantly with them and growing in relationship. And that's one thing that I loved. Like, I absolutely loved that. And, like, I wouldn't want to take that from my kids. So, like, I plan on private school. I mean, I might homeschool for a couple years, but, like, private school for me is the way to go. Now, some private schools, no. It just depends. But, like, I also grew a lot in biblical because I was like, it was constant. I had Bible class every day. I had chapel once a week. And like, that was just a constant, like every single day thing. We would pray every morning and all that stuff. So like, I love homeschool and private school, but in my opinion, I think private school, like that's what I would do with my kids.
Okay. So Mike, for your experience with public school, how do you feel like that helped you? Like, why do you prefer public school for yourself versus your kids?
Well, it's basically the exact opposite of what Dalton was saying. There wasn't no sheltering. You take it on the chin. You learn how to take a joke or stand up for yourself. There's nobody there to defend you. You have to you have to grow up. Like the biggest thing is, well, where I grew up, I was the only white kid in the school in my grade. So you had to prove yourself very fast, very quickly. And it was either checking somebody, making fun of somebody, whatever, to know you wasn't going to put up with what they're dishing out.
Yeah.
That's what they're doing. They're chin checking you. They're like, we're going to see what he's about. What is he even doing here? First of all, he don't belong. But as you grow in that same circle, they realize that my skin has nothing to do with anything. We all are going through these same struggles at home. Like, this is my getaway too. But at the same time, I didn't have a problem learning. Like, I feel like the curriculum when I grew up was decent. Like, I learned a lot. I was smart. I didn't have a problem making good grades. It was just easy to me. It came easy. Like I was telling you earlier, I would get in trouble for being a class clown. But another
because you would get bored.
And you want to be liked in those circles. If you make people laugh or whatever, it makes you feel a false confident that you're building friendships or whatever. But at the same time, for public schools, it made me who I am. Like, but I think that's not just school in general. I think that's the lifestyle. The school is just a reflection of what we're talking about today. But for schooling purposes, like connecting with people, knowing how to interact with people, knowing how to interact with different, age groups. You're not in school with first graders. You got seventh graders. My school was K through 8. So in third grade, you got an eighth grader on the bus messing with you sometimes. You got to learn how to deal with that and learn to adapt and overcome. And for me, I think it's made me a stronger person going through the struggles of dealing with a lot of adversity in public school.
And going on Dalton's thing about he would prefer private school for like his future kids and stuff, like being in private school my entire life, I realized that like I was almost sheltered in a way, even though like I never did, but like I knew which kids we could buy drugs from. Like drugs are not, what's the word? Sorry guys, like my brain. Christian schools are not immune to drugs. Like, you can get that crap wherever. And so that was like some people's misconception. It's like, oh, well, there's, no bad kids. It's like, no, we have kids that sell drugs. We have kids that would literally come to school high, like driving in their cars and like hotboxing it, like all this stuff. And so I was just always so sheltered anyway. And so like I had to learn things like, well, I didn't have to. I learned things at school that like I would never have known about without somebody else telling it. But that's everywhere. But like even when I left school, of like not having that bubble of the shelter of like, oh, it's a Christian school, of like, oh, like God is present here, this is a Christ-centered school, like we actually had a policy like Christian schools can have, because they're not, like worked by the government, of no homosexuality. And we had a gay kid at the school, and it actually made the news at one point, because like we were telling this kid he couldn't be gay. It's just like, well, it's a private school, you have like certain things that you can and can't do, whatever. Like, you're not being paid for by the government. But I feel like that's something I really struggled with, was like getting out of that sheltered box. And then now it's like I never go anywhere besides home and church and Costco.
When you speak on drugs, that's another big topic for me. I grew up, it's like weed is the only option.
Yeah, that was it in school.
Like,
or like bars of Xanax. Like that was later in high school.
Yeah, no, but see, growing up in school, weed was something that was prevalent, smoking, getting high like that. But as I get older and start getting private school friends, that's when I get introduced to cocaine and Xanax.
I knew somebody on cocaine.
And other things like that. So I didn't ever look at private schools as Christian schools, like a God-centered. They got the money. That's where the money's coming from. They got the rich people drugs. But as like growing up where we came from, we don't do that. That stuff's wrong. Like you can smoke some weed or drink some beer or whatever, but you don't mess with cocaine. You don't take pills. That was our mindset. And I wasn't introduced to those other drugs until I met a private school kid.
Right.
So it was like a culture shock. You know? Like we would look at him like, you got money or whatever, but you ain't welcome here with that. Like, that ain't cool, bro. Like, we ain't about that. You need to go be with your private school friends.
Well, and even like you said with the culture shock of like you explaining like that school was an escape for you guys because like you guys were all going through the same thing. Like you knew you were going to get fed at school. Like I never worried about that.
Yeah, it's just a different thing.
Well, and that's something like my husband and I have even talked about because he did public school like all through school, and he was on WIC, and like he, there was a time when like he was living with his mom, and like she would be in an apartment kind of like, and you pay the deposit and then you're moving a couple months later, and like doing all that stuff. And so he was always back and forth. And for him to do so well in school was actually like a miracle, because like you said, when you move so much that one year, like you ended up failing because you were just so far behind. And so just like having that culture shock of like, I never had to, the only thing that was like going on with our kids at like school were parents were divorcing or like parents were losing their jobs.
We didn't have parents to divorce. It was single parents, mom, you're living with your grandma, that kind of thing.
I knew like one kid like that in high school. And so it's just the culture shock was just so large. And so that's why I was just so surprised by that. But I wanted to touch on that before we moved on, but you can go ahead. You have something to say.
We can see it in your face.
I can. You looked like you had something.
Your face is definitely saying I have something to say right now. Hurry up.
I was anticipating her coming to me next, so I was just getting ready.
It looked like it. It looked like it.
So, for me, I think one thing we talked about culture shock. We have all experienced that. We all just use that phrase. One, and I experienced that too several times. Like when I went from homeschool to private school. I'll tell you some positives and negatives of all, I think. First off, man, people aren't going to like this, but I got to say it like it is. The school system is set up the way they're at in the hours it is to have parents both be able to go to work. It's been like that since World War II. That's why it's set up the way it is.
Yeah. To breed workers.
Yes. I think that is so wrong. Children, especially boys, were not created to sit still for 7 straight hours and then go to aftercare for 3 hours.
Yeah.
That's not who we were created to be. That's not healthy. So the reason, especially my daughter, is like
God bless her.
Which one?
Ava.
oldest.
Ava
Ava.
has more energy
energetic.
Oh my
than the
gosh.
Energizer Bunny.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something.
I love Ava.
Oh, I do too, because she reminds me of me and my brother Jeremiah. I mean, but here's the thing. That's why, especially for little kids, like if someone asked me, Josiah, if I can only afford to have my wife homeschool them for 4 or 5 years, what's it going to be? I'm going to say 1st through 5th grade. I'm going to say 1st through 5th grade, and here's why. They're not meant to sit still. Does anyone really, what they learn?
They're going to prescribe them medicine too.
Let me tell you
Sit
something.
still.
If you think I'm playing,
It's not a joke.
if
They
you
tried
think
it for
I'm
me.
playing, 100%. You know how common that is right now?
Oh,
No, I'm
I
saying
worked at
was
a pediatric
I was supposed to be on Ritalin.
So let me tell you something. It's, what I'm getting at is that's not healthy. That's not good. Now, I understand. Yeah, you've got to learn to sit still. What it takes to teach a 1st grader what they need to learn in 1st grade can be done in 2 hours a day. If you don't believe me, I can show you.
Yeah, I was about to say, is she in 1st grade?
Proof's in the pudding.
Or is she in kindergarten?
We do school with Ava on average 40 minutes a day. She is in kindergarten, but we've already started on the 1st grade stuff.
She's smart.
40 minutes a day. It's really because Rachel's awesome. It's not really. Now, look, it comes a time where what Dalton said is exactly right. What Mike said is exactly right. Let me tell you how my parents did it. When we moved back to Memphis from Nashville, it was 2005. So I was getting a little older, and my dad decided it was time to make sure I went ahead and had that culture shock. We were moving back to his old city, so it was time to go ahead and get that over with. Here's why I say I was prepared for it. It took me 9 weeks, and that was a hard 9 weeks for me. I'll be straight. Those first 9 weeks. My father, what he did, he didn't teach me all the ins and outs. He said the 3 most important words he ever told me were I love you. The second most 3 important words were figure it out. Those 3 words, figure it out. I was taught that at the house. Figure it out. Well, I took that mentality and I'm like, hold on. So I have to sit in here for 7 hours and learn half as much as I used to. That's what you need me to do. And then you're going to give me work to take to the house after practice?
With a 50-pound backpack.
Yeah.
After
All your
practice?
textbooks.
And all these other kids have all these laptops and all these things, and I'm sitting here handwriting this stuff, and yours response to me was, figure it out. And that's what I did. Football was different from going from the SYS community school stuff.
Yeah,
But
I played that.
Hey, figure it out. Now, it wasn't in a cold, figure it out, I don't care. It was a, you can do this. I've bred you to figure it out, and I did. And I'm grateful for that experience. What Mike said is true, though. Having just ended my tenure as a public school teacher, I can assure you that it has gone downhill. What is taught and promoted as good is wrong, and what is good you're not allowed to say.
Right.
I mean, it's the craziest thing I've ever seen. I'm serious.
It's the exact opposite of what Anna was saying.
The things that I got in trouble for as a teacher were,
Disciplining your students.
man, it'd be stuff like this. Yeah, man, I don't want to say too much but I'll just say this. We are raising a generation of people who are being taught that there's absolutely no consequences for your actions, and you should look for people doing the right thing to get one over on them, to get them in trouble. And it's just a backward system.
Soft as Charmin.
Dude.
That's what you're raising. You're raising kids to be
Soft.
thinner than
Soft.
a
Angel
coffee
soft.
filter.
And here's what I would argue. Mike is right in that one of the benefits of public school is you get thick skin.
Yeah.
My other additive is it's another way to get that thick skin where you don't have to go through that.
Amen.
And I'll be straight with you. I think I got that.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you know, but that took some tough stuff, but that's part of growing up and maturing for all of us. We all had to come up with that at some point.
Well, you had 4 brothers. You
Yeah.
had your household,
Even though
your
you're
dad.
Yeah.
Like what I'm saying is, in general.
And I think here's the answer, and this is the part people won't like, and then I'll shut up and let someone else talk. The answer is a biblical family unit.
Come on.
Now, look, I know it's going to hurt some feelings, but I got to say it like it is. When God said, for this reason, a man shall leave his father and mother. Don't get me started on in-law stuff. A man shall leave his father and mother and cleave unto his wife, and the two will become one flesh. When God said, fathers, do not provoke your children to wrath, but raise them up in the nurture and the admonition of the Lord, people don't understand what that verse means. I bet 90% of Christians will quote that verse and say, parents, raise your children in the nurture and the admonition of the Lord. It says fathers. You know what a wife is?
Helpmate.
Helpmate. She is a tool in the toolbox for raising the children, and she is your best tool. She is your crescent wrench. But that's what she is. That's not an insult. That's a place of honor.
No, it's like that's.
It's the father's responsibility. Let me tell you
The
something.
number 10 socket.
Let me tell you something. Number 10 socket will fix any small engine, and it did. Okay, let me tell you something, man. Public school teacher, Memphis City Schools. We had something called Power School. Told us all the demographics of our students.
Hey, Power School.
Let me tell you something, man.
I know that.
Ready? Student 1, guardians. Mother, grandmother, auntie. Student 2, mother, grandmother, auntie. Student 3, mother, grandmother, uncle. You know what I never saw? And I had 191 students. Saw about 4 fathers. You think I'm joking when I say them numbers. I'm not.
I know you're not joking. I believe it.
God set it up a certain way, and he wasn't playing. He was not playing. Most of our issues in the school systems, we like to blame the school systems. We got to look ourselves in the mirror and saying, are we set up as a family unit the way God said it? Am I, as a father, doing what I'm supposed to be doing? Don't get me started on this culture not cherishing fatherhood. Don't get me started on that. But it starts there. And when we take that responsibility on, it's Mike's job to teach Jameson how to read, even if Mike never opens a book with him. That's the idea behind it. It's my job. It's my job to teach Ava, even though 90% of the time Rachel's sitting down with her. That's what we've got to come to. And we got to quit blaming the government, the mayor, and the superintendent when we got to look ourselves in the mirror. And if we choose another way other than how God set up, we can't expect different results. If you send your kids to Caesar and give them no way of knowing that they're in Rome, they're going to come back as Romans.
Right.
Come on.
Hey, let me say it again. If you send your kids to Caesar, the government, and you have given them no tools to recognize who Caesar is, they're going to come back as Romans, and you're going to act surprised. That's the reality of the situation.
Well, and two, I think that a lot of parents who might want to go ahead.
No, tell Josiah to shut up.
No, I was going to let you.
Shut up.
Some of the parents who might want to homeschool their kids can't afford to take one
Yeah.
income. It's a huge sacrifice. I mean,
Yeah,
that was
tell me
something.
about it.
Yeah, tell me about it. That was one thing that my husband and I really talked about when I went back to work after our first son came. I did not want to go back to work, and we didn't think that we were going to be able to afford being on like a single income.
Yeah.
And we prayed about it, and I was back at work for 7 months. Well, like 5-6 months, and I told my husband, I said, I'm like, I cannot do this anymore. I know that God has called us to, if we know that God has called us to stay at home with our kids, then why are we not doing it? And so we took that leap of faith, and like, you know, we made it work, you know, the first year and stuff, and God has been very gracious and blessed us with many things over. But it's like we don't have the same, not everyone has the same
Yeah. That's right.
I can't think of freaking words, y'all.
I
Please
know what
forgive
you're
me.
saying.
Well, we don't have the same options. Like,
Well, let me fill it in for you. It's 3 things to keep in mind with that. Number 1, 100%, you're right. First off, I'm not talking about Mike. When some people say they can't afford it, it's a word I want to say. Let's just say that's not true. Okay?
well, that's
Number
what we
2,
felt. Yeah, for
I've
sure.
heard that. So, I mean, number
sure.
2, first thing you need to do if someone says, Josiah, I hear all that about the family unit. I've already screwed that up. What do I do now?
Fix it.
Okay. What do I do now? That's a different attitude than someone who doesn't even recognize that anything they did was wrong that got them in that situation. You understand what I mean? Like, you can have compassion and help someone in that situation, but until they in their heart recognize this is how God was supposed to have it set up, and I've goofed that up a little bit, some my fault, some not. That's the reality. How do we move forward with that? Third thing is this. This is one of the main reasons God made a church, is to help for people like that who didn't do it right the first time and now trying to get it right in the background. Let me tell you something. This church right here, there was a young man. Public school wasn't working out. Didn't have money for private school. His mama couldn't quit working. So you know what happened? Someone from this church volunteered to come up here every day with him and finish his schooling out.
I love both of them.
Dude, me too. That's why God made the church as a support system. Because let me tell you something. It's very few things that I am not confident in any situation. Single mom, 2 kids, the school's teaching this and that you can be this. And, hey, boys, you can be a girl tomorrow and all this stuff. Hey, let's do the pregnancy stuff with the boys and the girls since you can all get pregnant. Bull crap.
Yeah, let's put tampons in the boys' bathroom and the boys
You think I'm playing?
throw them out. Yeah.
Okay. And let the 17-year-old boy in the bathroom with a 13-year-old girl, and I dare someone tell me that didn't happen. I can. Okay, we can find a solution, because let me tell you something. Spending $40,000 a year to send your kids to a private school won't make them no Christian.
Right.
If you think that makes them a Christian, you've lost your mind.
Well, it's like sending your kids to church and expecting them to become Christians. It's like, doesn't make your kid a Christian.
The solution in the scenarios that we were talking about, when someone's stuck, is first recognize where you erred and repent of that. And then, this is why being in a covenant community, there is always an answer. Always. Now, that might mean for a time. Might be for a time. All right, so here's how we're going to do this. We got a plan. For the next 2 years, buddy, you're going to suck it up. You're going to be here. But in 2 years, we're going here. There's always a way to fix something. That's kind of how I see it.
Well, and I think, too, like, we're not condemning people who send their kids to public
no,
school.
We're not.
Or, like I said, everyone has different opportunities. And
not all schools are the same.
Not all schools are the same. Like,
Especially in Memphis.
right.
Especially in Memphis,
Especially
dude.
in Memphis, bro.
Dude, you drive 5 miles that way, you're like, oh, my goodness.
Bro, I drive past 3 high schools to take my son to the school he's district
You know
in.
why you do that? Because you know about them 3 high schools.
Yeah. No, they're actually decent, but they just got built. It's just kind of frustrating that I'm going 30
now you
minutes
are, yeah.
past the school that's there when I could just be right there. But it's their little zone system.
Yeah, the zoning system. But it's like you said, there are good public schools out there. Like where my mom lives, like they have great public schools. But it's like at the same time, it's like, I don't know, what are you teaching my kids? That was the main reason my husband and I decided to homeschool. It's like, I'm not letting somebody tell my son that he's a girl. Absolutely not. Absolutely
Those
not.
are things that I did not have to deal with.
Exactly.
We didn't deal with that.
That's why my vision.
Because it was different back in your day than it is your kids'
So
day.
my children, it's my duty, as Josiah just said, is to raise my kids up how they should be led in a Christian family as a spiritual leader of my household. If I'm not going to get that from the school that we're zoned to, it's my obligation to do what I need to do to make that happen, whether it's financial problems or work harder or reach for help. I have to do that because that's what I'm called to do.
I was thinking about the co-ops and stuff that Dalton did, even though it was like all kids older than him. There are other co-ops. Like if you're having the same issue like Dalton
I've
had,
seen successful ones. Yeah.
the one at this big old church over here is pretty good from what they're doing. They're doing like they're teaching Mandarin and like AP calculus. Like I was able to like look on their schedule and I'm just like, oh my gosh, like I did not think that's what they were doing at co-ops. But
And they're doing it in like 4 hours and then they're done. It's amazing.
Yeah, and like I could see groups because we take our kids up to the playground up there like a couple of times a week, if that, and then you can see like at lunchtime, like everyone has like their little groups that they sit and have lunch with. It's like, so you can still get that interaction. Because that was one thing my brother and I have talked about. We talked about homeschooling our son sons, eventually. But
Congratulations.
yeah, thank you.
Yeah, that's
Another
right.
boy.
We got one we got one in the oven.
Yeah, he's in here.
Have we announced that to the podcast,
No.
bro?
No, they just figured this
Did
out.
you mean to do that?
No.
It was
Mike
a
did it for you. Look at that. Boom.
Surprise.
Oh, well,
I'll be
I
much
thought that's
bigger.
what she was saying.
I'll be much bigger. I won't be able to sit this close to the
Was that
table.
an
towards the
innuendo?
end of no, it's just I'm gonna be fat with this baby in my belly.
Especially
But-
with another DJ.
Not
Yeah.
fat, big. Not fat,
No, I was a little
big.
chunky
Thick.
last time.
Not
no,
fat,
but
thick.
Going back
With
to
Rachel, and I
that.
try to give her a
2
hug.
C's.
Yeah.
Well, going back to the whole co-op
Public
thing,
school.
that was one thing that my brother and I were talking about. He's like, I just don't want my kids to be that weird, because we all knew a weird homeschooled kid growing up. Like we had one in our youth group, and like love him to this day, but like he's still pretty awkward. But he was almost like Dalton, where his older siblings were like 10 years. He was like an afterthought
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so he was like 10 years younger than all of his siblings. And then he like would only see Donovan, like my husband, and then like another one of our friends at church. And like those were his
Yeah.
friends. And so that's one thing. Like, I'm like, well, I'm going to put our kids in sports. Like if he wants to play sports, hopefully. I don't want him to be a little nerd. Just kidding. If he wants to be a nerd, I'll let him be a nerd. But it's like I want him to interact. I want him to play. I want him to learn teamwork, how to, work
sports
with
is
somebody.
bigger than just the sport.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and-
it's-
right.
it's
It's, like the
camaraderie.
yeah.
It's-
And so it's like you can make it what you want.
So
We don't believe in participation trophies at
No.
public
100%.
schools.
Losers.
So let me tell you something.
You either win or lose, buddy.
Let me
Yeah.
tell you something. They do now.
Well, I'm talking about when
So-
I grew up.
Mm-hmm.
So one way, my parents, I was exposed to all types of people long before I ever went to school or anything like that because of the ministry.
Yeah.
At my house, dude,
Y'all had a ton of people living with you.
man, there's not a type of person you can think of. So my parents did an excellent job in that regard.
No, it's on me.
Okay.
Yeah.
In that regard, through that, that's why it wasn't as big of a culture shock for me as it was. I want to say something about the weird kid thing you said.
That one weird homeschool kid. Yeah. We
That
all
is
know.
prevalent in public schools quite a bit now.
We
a
had
lot. And let me
some
explain.
kids like that.
And
at our
people
school,
forget
too.
that. People think it's
Yeah.
a homeschool thing. It's not. Let me tell you what that is. It's easy to do it in homeschool. Here's what that is. I'm not talking about mental issues. Don't misunderstand what I'm saying.
Right.
When someone's life is only ever centered around them,
You talking about like an only child
it could be.
kind of?
In public schools now, we'll have so many individualized education programs,
freaking
not
hate
just for legitimate things.
Anger.
Let me tell you something. I'll look you in the 17 years old. She had an IEP, not for mental retardation.
ADHD.
Not Not
Well, I was
for
about to say that was one of
those
yours,
things. Not a
definitely.
504.
What's
for
IEP?
Individual education program.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Public
For-
school.
For anger issues.
Yeah.
If person X stood up and said, F you, Coach Shipley.
That
Okay.
person you couldn't do.
3 days ISS. If she did,
Yeah.
she got to skip the assignment that day, walk to the principal, say how and her caseworker, say how she was having a bad day, come back in the classroom that day and finish the day out and not have to do any work, and I had to give her 100 for it.
Oh, that pisses me
What?
off.
That is.
Ridiculous.
I mean,
Oh my
it's like you would
goodness.
want an IEP program for
Yeah.
yourself, correct?
And
It's like, I got an anger issue. I got a
You know what-
hunger issue.
you know what you have to do to get it?
Say I got an
Have
anger
a
issue.
doctor to
Phil-
fill it out.
Have your mom fill it out for
no,
you.
because I filled them out.
Have your mommy.
you
Your mommy.
serious?
My kid has a very hard
We would have
time
to
dealing
do-
with teachers,
We would have to do
telling them what to do.
When I worked at that pediatric office, we would have to do like IEPs or 504 plans, but most of the time when we got them, like it was a medical thing, it was autism
Yeah,
or like
right.
ADHD,
Is
stuff
I
like that.
What's 504? What?
It's
Come on,
something-
educate me here.
504 is like wheelchairs.
Oh, okay,
it's
okay.
Like
so-
disabilities.
IEP and
But
504s are
look,
different.
I'll be in a classroom,
Okay.
and there'll be
It's like
7 kids with an
disability.
IEP, and I'm never allowed to reveal for privacy reasons,
Yeah.
right?
HEPA,
But like 2 or 3 of them might be something like
public school.
2 or 3
Stop it.
things might be like autism or mental retardation. 2 of them will say, 4 of them will be behavioral, and the same credit, the same treatment. And I'm just looking around, and I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. That and that, when we make things so individualized, think about those words, individual education program in a public school, individual education program. That's why Mike said sports are such a big thing, because it's teaching you that the team is bigger than you. The team is bigger than you.
Team, sir.
It's the team's bigger than you.
Put your helmet on and go get to work.
That's right, man. That's right.
Grab your gloves or whatever sport it is.
Exactly.
It's not about you. It's about us.
So that's an excellent outlet for that. We have to teach our children that it's not about them. It's not. They're not the center of attention.
About the greater good of everybody.
100%. And there's a lot of ways to do that, but sports is definitely one of them.
Oh, for sure.
Definitely.
I agree.
Yep, sports are great.
All right. Well, any other comments?
Concerns?
I think it was a good discussion. I think
Do we actually need a part 2 to this?
probably not.
I just want to make it clear that I had good leaders in my household. Like, my mom did what she could do.
Yeah.
So when you talk about options, we just didn't have any.
Right.
Right.
But as the older son, kind of like your dad told you, you figure it out.
Yeah.
And if that means you take one on your chin for your little brother, or you show him how to
See,
do
that's
this
beautiful.
different,
That's beautiful.
or you move a certain way to show him how to move a certain way to get through said struggles.
Yep.
But it's all about what you're able to do as a
Yep.
parent. Now, in a church family, which I didn't grow up in, my mom leaned on the public school system
Right.
to help her get to work or get us to school. You got to think public schools, not only just, we didn't have a car, you know what I'm saying? So you get to go to the school bus and go to
And there's lunch.
and it was,
Breakfast,
and
yeah.
listen, it was free lunch. Like, there was options. You had free lunch, reduced lunch, and then
All
people
of
that
ours were
paid.
free. All,
Well, when we grew up, if you were in a certain thing, food stamps, whatever, you had free lunch or reduced lunch.
almost all in Memphis are free now.
I know.
Did you-
Well, growing up, that
Did y'all
wasn't.
do breakfast at your school?
Yes.
It was 40 cents. I still remember. It was 40 cents for lunch.
Now it's almost all free in almost every Memphis school breakfast and lunch.
So in that saying, I just want to make it super clear that I'm proud of how I came up.
Absolutely.
And my mom did what she could do. And like you said, it was on me to figure it out. And I did. But it's also on me as a parent to figure out what's best for my children.
Yeah, that's right.
Right.
So that doesn't mean the same thing I went through has to be the same thing my kids go through.
Right.
That's right.
If I can protect them and let them not wear the scar tissue that I have, and also provide the adversity that they need in their lives to be
That's
social,
exactly right.
then that's what I'm going to do. You don't have to get beat up or made fun of or whatever to get thick skin, but I'm not going to coddle you either.
Yeah. I think the key that we've tried, and I think we've succeeded in conveying, is to answer the question directly. Public school, private school, homeschool, doesn't matter. Your job is to educate your children, and
As a
those
leader
are
of your
all
home, yes.
tools at your expense, and it's your job to figure out how to do that. The simple, biggest thing I want to make sure is, if you think sending your kid to private school makes them a Christian, you don't have to do anything about it, or makes them educated, you're a fool. If you think, man, I've seen homeschool where the mom or the dad, whoever's doing it, is being lazy and just that's not going to work neither. If you think sending the private school, public school, whatever, all I'm saying is those are all tools, and if you are trusting to passively trust any of those, it's never going to work out the way it is. It is your job, whatever tool you use. So for Mike's mom, if that's the one tool she had in her option, you are to use that tool while recognizing the responsibility is still on you.
Yep.
That's the main thing that I was trying to get at today. I think we all did.
Perfect, yeah. No, that's a good word.
I enjoyed being here today.
Good job, guys.
It was fun.
Mike,
Good job.
we
It
loved
was.
having you.
Always.
Do you?
You were fun. Yeah.
Well, we'll see how the views look, I guess.
I'm sure they'll be fun. Everyone's like, Mike, I
Dude,
gotta click on this.
You
in
got
here.
Titans and Grizzlies on.
Yeah, I'm a Memphis Titan.
Come
today.
on, dude. A Memphis Titan, baby.
No,
A
but
Memphis
it's the
You remember
Super
for that
Bowl.
1 year?
It's the
Memphis
Sup-
Titans, baby.
Yeah, it's the Super Bowl.
All
and,
about Taylor
I-
Swift today.
I literally, listen, there's a kid on 49ers that went to Millington High School.
Who?
Samuel something. I can't. He's a DB for the 49ers, so we're rooting for him to
Yeah.
bring the Lombardi back to Millington,
That's
Tennessee,
right,
where I
baby.
graduated
Yeah,
high school.
come on, man.
Public school.
Come on,
You know what
man.
I'm saying? So
Come
it's
on.
exciting. You know, we played sports there, football, wrestling,
Yeah.
cheerleading, everything like that. So it'd be nice to see that in my little school.
That'd be
town.
fun.
Yeah. All right. Very cool. Anna, anything else?
Nope.
What do y'all do? What do y'all do?
All right. So, no. Oh, the deuces.
Yeah,
thing? Okay, that's exactly what we're doing right there. Ready? So, until next time, deuces.
Hey, Mike.
Move that around.
You know the sun's not in here, right?
These are prescription, and it looks good on TV.